Hi there, Broby223 here, and thanks for tuning into my YouTube channel. This is episode 1.3 of my ongoing series of 12-gauge ammunition tests, where thus far we've been examining a variety of different BB-sized loads. Filling out that same series a bit more, today we're going to look at Remington's Hypersonic Steel BB, testing it in 10% ordnance gelatin and on the pattern boards through a variety of different chokes. Let's jump right in with a gelatin test. Here we go. Way to go, Broby. Well, I guess it's time for another trip to the camera store, but I'm thinking they probably can't fix that. So here I am back again with a new camera lens, and I'm calibrating another block in preparation to try the test again. The calibration process involves shooting a copper-plated steel BB into the gelatin block and measuring its velocity and penetration depth. This data can then be used to correct subsequent penetration measurements against a known and repeatable gelatin viscosity standard. I'll give this its own episode later though, because now it's time to try again. This time with the camera a bit more off to the side. Whew, let's go check it out. Remington has a new 2-stage wad which allows blazing speed from these steel BB loads. Somewhere in the neighborhood of 1700 feet per second, which is considerably faster than anything else we've tested thus far. As previously mentioned, the gelatin block's been carefully calibrated, and for those interested in calculating the penetration corrections as per McPherson's bullet penetration model, I have included the calibration BB data in the text above. But despite all that extra initial velocity, permanent penetration was about on par with the lead loads we've tested thus far, and at 5 yards the impact pattern was a pretty open 5.5 inches. Keep in mind that steel has about 70% of the density of lead, so it bleeds velocity much faster, both in air and in gelatin. We should expect that as range increases, steel's penetration performance relative to lead will suffer greatly. Sounds like a great topic for a future test, but before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's do some patterning. Real quick, here's a review of the choke configurations in my test guns. Cylinder bore, cut down cylinder, improved cylinder, and lastly, modified choke. Here we go. Man, talk about recoil. Let's walk up together though and see what those patterns look like, starting with the improved cylinder gun where the pattern is, not unexpectedly, very open with only 15 pellets through my 12-inch reference disc and a few missing the 36x30 pattern board completely. Moving over now to the cut-down cylinder gun, it's maybe only marginally better with 21 hits in the reference disc and a 33-inch overall pattern diameter, possibly because it's a bit better centered on the board. Now moving over to the improved cylinder gun, I was really surprised to see that there's virtually no difference. I thought for sure the improved cylinder would pattern somewhat tighter, however that's not the picture painted on this pattern board. Lastly, here's the pattern from the 870 Express with a modified screw and rem choke. Illustrating a somewhat tightening pattern, this board suggests that for the Hypersonic Steel BB load we looked at today, there could be some connection between tightening choke and tightening pattern, but I'd for sure want to do more tests with full and extra full chokes just to be sure. So to close off our episode, here's a look at the contents of an unfired round. That stub on the back end of the wad is the first stage combustion chamber that allows Remington to get that blazing 1700 feet per second, and the shot is not much more than a shiny pile of super hard steel BBs. Now I'll move the towel over a bit so we can have a look at all that shot recovered from the ballistics gel and a wad I recovered from general shooting. You can see that despite the fancy combustion chamber on the back end of the wad, there's not really anything new or exciting on the front end, and this is likely why the load patterns as open as it does. And by comparison to the nickel-plated lead BB we tested in our previous episode, you can see here that this steel shot exhibits only the slightest deformation. That one copper-plated BB you see was the one used to calibrate the gelatin, and the reason the steel shot is so discolored is because a couple of days elapsed between the time I shot the gelatin and the time I recovered all that shot, allowing a bit of corrosion to get to work on the steel. This brings us to the end of episode 1.3, where we've had a look at Remington's Hypersonic Steel BB. The load uses their accelerator wad, which incorporates an innovative dual combustion chamber that affects a significant increase in shot velocity. My opinion, though, is that this increase in velocity is not enough to give its steel shot superior penetration performance by comparison to lead. While our 5-yard gelatin test exhibited comparable penetration to pretty much all the other lead BB rounds we've tested, past that distance you can expect the performance gap to grow in favor of lead, something I'm going to demonstrate to you in a couple episodes further into the show, so please stay tuned. And just to dream that an ammunition manufacturer might be watching this, what I'd love to see in the future is this combustion chamber incorporated into the general design of the flight control wad. Load that sucker up with some super dense tungsten iron BB and watch out. It'd sure be an expensive load, but just imagine the ballistic performance of tungsten iron BBs at 1700 feet per second. Anyway, please check back soon as I've got many more episodes coming, and in closing, I sure want to know if there's something you'd like to see tested. If so, please don't hesitate to let me know in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. Bye for now.